Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak, John Vias, and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Jolie Atwood with the community calendar, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Thank you for joining us. The Burlington School Committee voted to approve a number of budget cuts to help the town balance its budget on Tuesday. As reported on BNews, the town is facing a $2.1 million budget deficit in FY21 due to a drop in local receipts from sources including hotel motel taxes, meal taxes, and building permits. A majority of that is being made up from a reduction of spending in accommodated accounts, but there is still a $700,000 shortfall that needs to come from the town and school budgets split evenly between the two. During Tuesday evening school committee meetings, Superintendent Eric Conti and School Business Manager Nicole Kosha gave an overview of where the department is looking to make cuts. First, however, they gave an update on where the school budget is at this time. Kosha said that as of right now, with the $350,000 in cuts, the department is projecting to have roughly $200,000 left over at the end of the year. Normally, Conti added that this time of year, the projection would be about $1 million. That being said, they outlined where they are planning to make cuts. Perhaps fortunately, in many areas, this was aided by changes already in place due to the pandemic. For example, they are reducing the stipends paid to teachers for running after-school activities and similar things by roughly $130,000 by canceling some of those programs. They also reduced clerical salaries by about $48,000 by merging some positions at a higher level and having existing employees retire. They were also able to save money and reduce transportation costs. Since the elementary schools are getting out midday, they no longer have to have an extra bus run for the kindergarten students who always get out for lunch. Also, there are no buses being used for sports. They're also not running a late bus at the high school. Those three items saved an estimated $39,000. Other savings come from not having vision and hearing screenings and just by having 10 fewer days in the school year. Members of the school committee said they supported the proposed cuts for this year, but emphasized the need to have the funds back in the budget for FY22. Superintendent Conti agreed, saying that the only savings that are not dependent on the unique situation are from the reduction in clerical positions. Here he is
If
with
we go back
comments.
to regular, I hate even using the term regular. If our school year looks more typical next year, we are going to need that $300,000 back to put the bus runs back in and to put the activities and clubs back in. Um, um, the only savings that would be carried forward would be the sort of reorganization of the clerical positions that I discussed, which was about a $50,000 deficit. So this was truly a one-year reduction from my perspective. If this were to be ongoing, we'd have to make some other programmatic decisions moving forward.
The school committee also discussed a draft proposal for the job description for the new Director of Diversity and Equity position approved by town meeting in September. Superintendent Conti said much of the job description had been created by the BHS Equity Committee, and the draft also included input from similar positions in other districts. Conti told the committee they weren't looking for a vote on Tuesday, but said to consider this like they do with new policies, having a second reading at a subsequent meeting and then taking a vote. The committee will be asked to vote on it during its October 27 meeting. Responsibility of the position starts with working with the district leadership to identify, assess, and create action plans to address institutional biases and structural racism in district programs and practices and their associated impacts on underserved and underserved and underrepresented communities. Under the qualifications, the description says that the position requires either a master's degree with 5+ years of related experience in a school setting or a bachelor's degree with 7 to 10 years of related experience in a school setting and a willingness to pursue a master or doctoral degree being a plus. Superintendent Conti said that because this is a new position, the job description is just the beginning, and he expects the position to evolve after they interview and hire the candidate that will fill it. Members of the committee seemed happy with the first reading of the job description. Here's Martha Simon's comments.
I like this job description. I think it has a lot of specifics about areas that would need to be covered by this position, but also flexibility so that the job can be something that people's strengths can be used and can evolve if needed, depending on the district's needs.
Dr. Conti said it may be possible to hire someone by February or March of next year. A Burlington construction company is one of 3 such entities to be facing fines by the state for underpaying workers. Attorney General Maura Healey's Fair Labor Division announced citations totaling over $636,000 in penalties and restitution for 23 workers against 3 construction companies for prevailing wage and records violations in connection with a public construction project in Sutton. One of the companies was Burlington-based Machado's Construction Services, LLC, and its manager, Leandro Machado, who were fined roughly $399,000 for 5 different citations. According to the AG's office, they began investigating the companies after receiving a referral from the North Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, alleging that construction workers on the Sutton Police Station project were not being paid the prevailing wage. According to the referral, workers on the project were paid only $15 to $20 per hour for carpentry work, far less than the state-mandated prevailing wage of $68.72 per hour. The AG's office enforces laws that regulate the payment of wages, including prevailing wage laws that apply to certain public construction projects and public works to ensure quality workmanship and fairness in the awarding of public contracts. The law imposes a special minimum wage and requires contractors and subcontractors working on public works construction projects to submit weekly true and accurate certified payroll records to the authority that awards the contracts, the public construction projects. Burlington's affordable housing program has undertaken 117 Bedford Street, a house that was given to the town it was U.S. military property, was acquired by the town through a development project for restoration and a new home life. BNEWS reporter John Vias went to check out the project and has this report.
Just across the street from Marvin Field lies a house that's ready for a brand new life. Burlington's affordable housing program is making its way to 117 South Bedford Street, one of 14 houses given to the town of Burlington by the United States military. I paid a visit to the work-in-progress home and spoke with Selectman Mike Runyon about the history of the home and the town's affordable housing program.
You know, Burlington has long been recognized as a leader in affordable housing. In fact, we're one of only 36 communities to receive the Housing Choice designation from DHCD, so we're quite proud of that. This particular home we're talking about today is part of a 12 or 14 houses that the town received from the United States military back in the mid-90s. It was declared surplus. And we've had a very, very successful first-time home buyer program here. Unfortunately, this house fell into terrible disrepair. I don't know how else to say it, but we had a very bad tenant in here. So left us with a great big mess here that we have to clean up and get repaired.
The house is set to be restored back to its original standing, coexisting alongside its neighboring homes.
So basically, we're just going to replace what was broken. We're not changing the footprint of the house. We're not adding any additions or anything else like that. This is a nice little 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom ranch, about 1,200 square feet, small by today's standards, but absolutely adequate for a young family who wants to get their foot in the door here in Burlington.
Many community members, from town organizations to volunteers, have contributed to this project, making another great example of what makes the town of Burlington stand out and why the town is well known in the state of Massachusetts for their affordable housing program.
We're fortunate here in Burlington. We've got a lot of community pride and a lot of talented people here in Burlington. You can tell already that a lot of the demolition work was done. That was done by Mike Wynn, who owns USA Demolition, Burlington guy. I had Jack Warthall from Titan Oil come in and remove the old oil tank and the oil furnace. I've got a number of folks lined up. I've got a number of people, Jim Martin from Jim Martin Landscaping. I know I'm going to forget somebody, but I've got a whole bunch of friends and Burlington residents, a lot of volunteers from the American Legion and the VFW will be down here to help. We're in pretty good shape help-wise, I think.
While there aren't any more homes ready for a revival at the moment, Selectman Runyon says that the town of Burlington would take initiative right away if more houses were in need.
Boy, if there was another opportunity to pick up 12 or 14 houses, we'd be right on top of it, John. I tell you what, like I mentioned earlier, Burlington has been a leader in affordable housing, recognized throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a leader. We continue to look for ways to address the affordable housing needs here in town. We've got a great working relationship between the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. Projects have been permitted. We continue to look for affordable housing opportunities for the town.
From 117 South Bedford Street, this is John Vias for BNEWS Weekly.
Mary Cummings Park, bordering Burlington and Woburn, has recently seen some upgrades thanks to the trustees, the organization tasked with preserving, protecting, and restoring the land. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak went on a tour and has this report.
A bright spot for Burlington in 2020 is Mary Cummings Park, which has been receiving some much-needed attention from the trustees, a nonprofit whose mission is to preserve and protect cultural resources, open spaces, and reservations.
What happened was the City of Boston issued an RFP for the care of this property. And the trustees applied for that RFP and were chosen. And we certainly had the support of the City of Boston and the support of the Friends of Mary Cummings Park because of our reputation that we're known for our stewardship and we're really the right organization for this job.
From the new parking lot and picnic area to the inspired viewing platform, the trustees have been blazing the Millport Sigma Science and Nature Trail.
An accessible trail network that went around a new pollinator meadow that's in development. Take about 3 to 5 years really to establish into a full blooming wildflower meadow. If you're familiar with the park, we have an RC Flyers Club here, and one of the fields is named after them. So at the beginning of Flyers Fields, we moved through a forested piece. So we leveled that trail out with some new gravel material and opened up the corridor to about an 8-foot width to make it more comfortable for visitors to use, and then also to accommodate larger school groups that will use the park in the future. So after crossing the new footbridge at the intermittent stream, and then the vegetation type changes, of course, into a more forested situation, quieter, can hear the breeze blowing through the trees. You have the cultural history of a stone wall and really what that represents for property boundaries and agriculture in the past in Massachusetts. And then you move into this forest. So you really have a lot of interpretive elements there to use for education and tours. The inspiration for the boardwalk was really education and getting people further into an environment that isn't easy to reach for most people. You know, simply getting wet and walking through mud and walking through higher vegetation really isn't pleasant for a lot of people. So the boardwalk makes it more accessible for people of all means. And the viewing platform itself allows a group of people to get out to the end of the boardwalk, pause, have lessons, have a meeting, discuss the habitat that they are in the midst of, and really have access to an open water situation at the center of this marsh. And we're allowing you to get out and immerse yourself in that habitat and really learn a lot more about it.
And in this particular park, we were also very interested in having people who had disabilities be able to use our trails and use this park. So we have special parking, special trails that are wider. And when you get down to the boardwalk, you'll see that there's actually rails on the side of that boardwalk, as well as picnic tables that all people can enjoy, regardless of their abilities.
Whether you're on wheels or on foot, we're happy to have the role as the management partner at Mary Cummings Park and looking to keep this as a permanent public resource really forever.
We take care of the property, and we expect the people who are both our members and our visitors to help take care of the property by picking up trash, not leaving dog droppings, following the regulations that we have, because the regulations are for everyone's enjoyment, and that's what's really important, is everyone gets to enjoy this beautiful open space.
From Mary Cummings Park, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
If you have made up your mind on how you plan to vote in the upcoming presidential election, you can avoid the Election Day rush and vote early starting this Saturday. Burlington Town Clerk Amy Warfield says early voting will begin on Saturday, October 17th and will end on Friday, October 30th. Early voting will be conducted at Grandview Farm. The times for early voting in Burlington are what you see on your screen right now. Note that masks are required for all in-person voting and social distancing requirements are in place. She makes sure that happens. Follow the guidance issued by poll workers and signage at the poll locations. You can also come to the polls on November 3rd if you prefer. The polls will be open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Burlington High School. Again, masks and social distancing are required. The Burlington Science Center announced the winners of their 2020 Cucumber Challenge this week during their Wild Wednesday live stream with Burlington elementary students. Back in early May, amongst the pandemic lockdown, the Science Center announced its Cucumber Challenge for grades K through 5. Students were offered a coconut husk pot with soil and 2 seeds with an information packet and entry form with the challenge to grow the heaviest or longest cucumber. The Science Center was pleasantly surprised by the long line of cars that patiently waited to pick up their cucumber seeds at Burlington High School during the peak of the quarantine. Entry forms were due October 2nd, and participants were required to send a picture of themselves with their cucumber and the plant and have the cucumber officially measured and weighed by the United States Post Office. A community partner on the project, the Burlington Post Office, gave an official stamp of approval on the students' entry forms. The first place winner for cucumber length were twins Erin and Duncan Foster of Fox Hill, whose cucumber came in at 15 inches. First place winner for cucumber weight was Sophia Negron of Fox Hill, whose cucumber weighed in at 2 pounds, 7.3 ounces. Congratulations to all the winners for their hard work and husbandry and an impressive achievement. I guess husbandry is for animals, not for vegetables. The Burlington Sculpture Park Committee announced this week that the Burlington community has chosen a name for the American dog sculpture located on the Common across from the new Burlington Sculpture Park. BNEWS reporter Tad Stefanak has this report.
Arriving this summer with the installation of the Burlington Sculpture Park, Burlington's American dog has stood on guard at the corner of Bedford and Center Street. With permission of the artist Dale Rogers, the Burlington Sculpture Park held a contest to name the big dog and announced the name Havoc, the namesake of Havoc, the retired Burlington Police Canine officer who faithfully served Burlington for 10 years. Contest winner, Sean McDonald.
I remember the article about, naming the sculpture at the park. And, I remember, a month earlier reading a great article about Havoc, who was retiring after 10 years of, being a patrolman, a Burlington police officer, protecting the community. And, if we're going to have a sculpture here at the Common, which welcomes you home every day, Havoc would be the perfect name. And, and always remember, the service he put into the community.
We got almost 1,000 votes from Burlington residents, including many school children. And initially, it was a tough race between Burley and Burlingdon. And they were going back and forth with the lead. And then suddenly, in this great race, from behind comes Havoc. Boom, 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 boom. And pretty soon, Havoc is number 1. And it won by a healthy margin. So from now on, this beautiful sculpture will be named Havoc. And Sean and his family will have T-shirts with the logo of the park, designed by Burlington High School students, a 12-inch figure of the dog, and we'll take a family portrait when the T-shirts come in.
I live here in Burlington. My wife Jeannie, I have 5 kids, Madison, Megan, Shannon, Shay, and Quinn, all from Burlington, involved in the parks, the rec, so we, we're the local town, local townies, I guess you'd say, but we have 2 rescue dogs of our own, Brody and Tyson. They don't help find missing people and, protect the community like, Havoc has, but, definitely, the family pet.
As soon as we can, we will make available for sale to the public the T-shirts, possibly the 12-inch dogs, maybe some doggy keychains, all by Dale Rogers, the sculptor. And these will all be fundraisers for the sculpture park.
From the Burlington Sculpture Park and the big dog sculpture named Havoc, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
In our ongoing series, Who Works for Burlington, we talk to town employees not often in the spotlight. Up this time is Burlington High School science teacher Jill Graham. Let's have a look.
In our quest to bring you the stories of town employees you may not see or hear from often, we present the next installment of Who Works for Burlington. This time up is Burlington High School science teacher Jill Graham, an 18-year veteran teacher who began in the district after graduating Boston University with a graduate degree in science education. Jill says bringing science into the lives of students is a vital part of a good education.
Science is huge. If we look at some of the most pressing issues going on in the world right now, whether it be climate change or COVID, vaccinations, all of that ties back to science. So I think for our students to be able to make decisions about this in the future, they have to have a background in science. So I think it's really important for our students to leave here and be scientifically literate.
In her nearly 2 decades of teaching, Jill says a lot has changed in the world of education, most notably the use and importance of technology.
So I think technology is probably one of the biggest things that have changed. I can remember the first few years I was here, we had a desktop. We didn't do any sort of teaching off the laptops. So that technology piece, particularly when we went one-to-one and the students had their own device, has really just made what we can do in the classroom so much better. Integrating that technology, which is also going to be huge in the future. So teaching the students how to use that responsibly is big, and it's really made a difference in teaching and the quality of our teaching.
Teaching is not only about imparting facts. Jill said forming bonds to help students grow both socially and emotionally is also important.
So I think one of the big things we can do is just spending these first few weeks really getting to know the students. And even though we're seeing them less in terms of face-to-face interactions, and when we might see them, it might feel a little different, still making them, know that they're safe and feel safe, and just making those connections and taking the time to really get to know the students.
Jill said she enjoys working in the Burlington School District and in the BHS Science Department.
We have a great science department here. It's kind of funny, back when I started, I was obviously 18 years ago the youngest one in the department, and now I think I've been here the longest out of anyone in the department. So definitely a lot of change, but we have a really strong department, and we all work together, and so it's fabulous.
Finally, her favorite part of the job are the students she teaches and that she watches grow throughout their high school careers.
Best thing about working here by far is the students. We have an amazing student population, and just getting to meet a new group of students every year and I teach a lot of freshmen, so watching them grow over the 4 years, having the students come back and visit and see where they are is definitely the best part of my job.
Now you know who works for Burlington. We'll be back soon with another edition, so stay tuned.
Jenny, I like the images. They look good.
The BHS sports season, in a limited way, is in full swing. We go now to BNEWS sports reporter Liz Gillespie for this week's sports report for all the latest Red Devil action.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. The fall sports are in high gear here in Burlington, and we have some updates to go through, so let's get to it. The Red Devil golf team took on the Wilmington Wildcats on Friday, October 9th at the Billerica Country Club. A 41.9 average number of holes were made that day by the Devils. In the end, the team ended up winning against the Wildcats 48-24. They'll be facing the Stoneham Spartans on Wednesday, October 14th at the Bear Hill Golf Course. The team stands at 2-2 on the season. Boys soccer played on October 10th and 12th during the holiday weekend. First, they had a matchup with the Wilmington Wildcats on the 10th, where they would not get any points on the board as they suffered a 3-0 loss against the Wildcats. However, on Monday, they traveled to Stoneham to take on the Spartans, where they managed to score 1 point, but they ended up getting the win. Burlington moves on to 1-2 on the season so far. They will be back on Saturday, October 17th to take on the Spartans again at the Marshall Simons Middle School Brush Field. This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page at 3 p.m. Girls soccer also played 2 games on the holiday weekend. First, they hosted the Wilmington Wildcats, and they suffered a loss of 2-1. Then on Monday, they hosted the Stoneham Spartans at Varsity Field, and we have some highlights from that game, so let's check those out.
The Burlington girls varsity soccer team faced off against the Stoneham Spartans on Monday, October 12th at Varsity Field. Now, let's roll those highlights. To begin the game, both teams were playing a lot of defense and little offense in the first half. Things picked up the pace during the second half as Stoneham scored 1-0. Shortly afterwards, the Lady Devils would answer 1-1. The Spartans scored again against the Lady Devils 2-1. Later on, Stoneham scored another goal 3-1. Burlington tried to keep up the pace in the game as they scored 3-2. The Spartans scored one more time near the end of the game. The final in this one was 4-2, Stoneham.
The Lady Devils will face the Spartans again on Saturday, October 17th in Stoneham. The ladies fall to a 3-0 record on the season. Girls cross country had their home opener against the Wilmington Wildcats on Saturday, October 10th at Varsity Field. For more on that day and how it went, we go to BNEWS sports reporter Robert Paris.
The Lady Devils cross country team was back in action at Burlington High School for their first meet of 2020. Everyone was excited to see the season kick off, including head coach Christina DeCroce.
Just super happy that we're even having a season. First of all, we're all staying healthy, doing all the things we need to do to keep ourselves safe and healthy. It's great to see the girls running.
The team had their senior day ceremony, which is usually near the end of the regular season.
Something unique about this season is we did our first meet celebrating them, and the girls got them balloons and gifts and pictures. It was really fun. And hopefully we will have another final home meet on November 14th against Wakefield. So we're hoping to continue the season in that way.
As the girls head into the second meet, they're looking for their first win and to improve while practicing on and off the track.
Hopefully getting a win. I know it could have been Wilmington. Would love to have a win on our record, at least one. But also just to see the girls continue to improve, continue to stay healthy, and work together as a team to push one another and do well.
From Varsity Field, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Sports.
The Burlington Lady Devils will take on the Stoneham Spartans on Saturday, October 17th at Colonial Park. They fall to 1-0 on the season. Red Devils cross country traveled to Wilmington High School to take on the Wildcats on Saturday, October 10th. The boys came out of the Wilmington with a victory of 42-19 over the Wildcats. They'll face the Stoneham Spartans for their home opener on Saturday, October 17th at Varsity Field. The boys currently stand at 1-0. Lady Devils field hockey had 2 games last weekend against the Wilmington Wildcats and the Stoneham Spartans. And we have some highlights for both of those games, so let's check those out.
The Burlington Lady Devils field hockey team faced off against the Wilmington Wildcats on Saturday, October 10th at Varsity Field. Let's see what happened. Neither team scored in the first period of the game. The Wildcats were on the board first in the second period, 1-0. They put up another point on the board in the fourth. The final score in this game was 2-0 Wilmington. The Lady Devils did not have much of a break as they hosted the Stoneham Spartans on Columbus Day. Did they end up getting a win? Let's find out. The game started off with 2 scoreless periods. First goal came in the third period and was made by the Spartans, 1-0. Burlington Lady Devils took over the game after that point as they scored 2 goals in the third and 1 in the fourth. "3-1 was the final score, Burlington.
Burlington will play the Spartans again on Saturday, October 17th at Stoneham High School. The Lady Devils move to 1-2 on the season. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for the latest forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Jolie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. I know it's hard to believe, but we're heading into the third week of October, and we saw something a few days ago that we haven't seen too much of here in the Burlington area over the past 4 to 5 months. We actually saw nearly 2 inches of rain. So it looks like we made a little bit of a dent in the drought that we've been having, but we still have about 8 or 9 inches of rain to go to make up that deficit that we've been having. But still, great news, and actually starting out our period on Friday, looks like we're going to see the chance of cloudy skies with, again, some more showers. So some more good news in keeping the water tables back up from where they've been over this past summer. And temperatures going to be a little bit above average. Temperatures in the upper 60s, so that's pleasant. Now, as we get into the Saturday time frame, you're going to notice it's going to be some pretty heavy rain again, and it's going to be pretty chilly out there, so you'll definitely need a heavy coat if you're going to be going out early this weekend. Now, as we round out our period getting into the next Thursday, look at this. Our average highs at this time of the year should only be in the upper 50s, but actually by the time we get to that point in the forecast, we're looking at temperatures that might be up near 70 again. So summer just ever so much is trying to hold on here. But of course, look at this, how short the days are. The sun is rising now at at 7 in the morning and setting right at 6. So the days definitely are getting shorter. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us in terms of chances of temperatures and precipitation for the next 7 to 10 days. And again, nothing surprising in terms of temperature. It looks like we're expecting above average temperatures. That's going to be reflected in Friday, and especially as we get into the latter portion of the period going into the middle of next week. But as we go to the next graphic, something very pleasant to see. We're expecting at or above average precipitation here in the Burlington area. So that, again, that is great news. We're going to try and chip away at that drought. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to get rid of it completely, but still a nice start to the recovery after the dry conditions that we had over the summer. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up. And again, starting out our period on Friday and Saturday. Again, not something you want to see starting your weekend out, but something we definitely need here in the Burlington area. Again, light to moderate rain. Temperatures again in the 60s on Friday, but cooling way down to the 50s on Saturday. And in fact, if you're up in the mountains, you may actually see some snowflakes mixing in. So that's the first time we've seen that in the New England forecast since back in May. Now, as we head into the rest of the weekend, looks like we have some fair skies coming back to us on Sunday, some beautiful conditions. And as we get to the rest of the week again on Monday, we may have a chance of a spot shower here and there, but really not too bad. A little bit of a cool down by Tuesday, but look at when we get out into Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures going back up through the 60s to near 70. So everyone, get out there, have a great week, and enjoy the weather.
Get ready to enjoy some Red Devil classics. Until Burlington football returns, we'll be showcasing some of the Red Devils' greatest hits from past seasons, featuring post-game analysis from former voice of the Red Devils, Phil Licaro. We have a full season of Red Devil classics coming your way. Look for new games weekly on BCAT's education channel.
Hi, I'm Julie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Get yourself a new hobby. On Tuesday, October 20th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department will be having an event called Youth Archery. Everyone is welcome and pre-registration is required. For more info, go to burlingtonrecreation.org or call 781-270-1695. Enjoy a spot of tea. On Friday, October 23rd at 11 a.m., the Burlington Public Library will be having an event called Virtual Costume Tea Party. Everyone is welcome. For more info, go to burlington.org or call 781-270-1690. It is time for some arts and crafts. On Sunday, October 25th at 10 a.m., 3rd Avenue in Burlington will be having an event called Kids Painting on the Plaza. Everyone is welcome. For more information about the event, go to 3rd Avenue Facebook page. I'm Julie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
If you have an upcoming event you'd like to highlight, send us the information in an email to bcat@bcattv.org with community calendar in the subject line. Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo shows Burlington getting into the fall season. It was taken by BCAT's own Tad Stefanak and shows a scarecrow in the planter box on the town common. The project was done, as all the planters are done, by the Burlington Garden Club, who worked collaboratively but distanced to bring it to fruition by adding mums and pumpkins and a pumpkin to match the season. We'd like to see your photos as always. They could be of your fall activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and want to share with us and the community. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Okay, that's it from here at the BNews News Desk. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNews Director Rich Hosford, BNews reporters Tad Stefanak, John Vias and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Julie Atwood with the community calendar, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Thank you for joining us.